Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first show of the year, the first Africam show of the year. Very, very exciting. I must say I've missed you all, and I hope that you had a fantastic festive period and that you're quite happy because we're starting off this afternoon on a new camera, which I think is really, really cool. So two new cameras have been installed, both at the Victoria Falls Safari Lodge. This one is the Vic Falls waterhole, as you can see, and we've got some kudu and some guinea fowl, and then there's also the Vic Falls sky cam that I'm sure we'll see as we go about. If this is the first time that you're joining us for the Africam show, welcome to the community, welcome to the cameras, and a hello from me as well. My name is Trishala. And we get to just move across the different cameras and we get to talk about what we see. You get to ask whatever questions you like because, of course, we're live and interactive. And I love to know what you're doing to enjoy the show. So for me today, as you all know, I am always envious of the fact that I always hear you guys talking about how you're having coffee when you're watching the show. And I was almost there, everybody. Almost. I have a cup of tea, like a cup of Earl Grey tea, and even 2 biscuits to enjoy the show this afternoon. And I've even got a glass of water to keep me going. First show of the year, everyone. I've got to warm up myself as well. Now, I've got a lot of hellos. Sorry, everyone. This is the sky cam. The waterhole cam is the separate one. It's slightly closer, and we have a better view of just the waterhole, so it's obviously very helpful. But we have already some hellos coming through. Aussie Jan 2, you say good afternoon one and all, coffee time. We already knew it, Aussie Jan 2. Some things will change in 2024, but never will we see Aussie Jan here without coffee. Never. Andy, you say good afternoon all and welcome back to me. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be back, albeit a little, how should I say, not quite warmed up, if that makes sense. Still feels like it's very early January, you know, still getting into the swing of things, haven't had a bush fix in a while. So I always feel much better spending time with all of you, or spending quality time, and as in being able to answer all of your questions and have interesting discussions. I feel it's always best when I've just come from the bush. I've just been spending time in wild spaces, and after the holiday season your brain's just not in that mode just yet, is it? But thank you, Andy. Casper said, Ghost, you say good morning. Trish from Milwaukee, you've got hot coffee ready and you can't wait for some warm sights. I can't wait for some good sightings either. As you all know, I would love to see some elephants this afternoon. There's nothing quite like spending time with elephants. So that's what I'm going to wish for. And, oh, let me get through a few more hellos and then I'll tell you what I saw yesterday. Yes. Timber Gracie say, good morning everyone from cold and snowy Minneapolis. Coffee today and happy to learn. Great to hear it. Everyone in that coffee. I'm getting close, everyone. Got some tea. Durell, you say, hello Trishala, you're wearing the biggest smile because you've missed Africam these weeks and you feel like an expectant mother waiting for Miss Croc's eggs. Oh yes, that would be lovely. So if you're not sure what Durell is talking about, I think you're talking about the crocodile at Tlou. Oh, we've just moved across to, this looks like, oh, we're having a little bit of trouble. We're looking at some Marabou storks, which are amazing. Oh, this is stunning. This looks like it could be the sky cam. Sorry, the waterhole. We were just looking at the sky cam earlier. You could see that it was a lot more of a broader view, and here focusing in at the waterhole, and you can see some Marabou storks. Unfortunately, that camera was giving us a little bit of trouble, so we're back at the sky cam now. So Jarell was talking about, so, oh, just sorry, Jarell. It's just at the edge there, even with the sky cam, you can see where those Marabou storks are sitting down. Just all the way on the other end. Jarell, you also say that you're happy that we're back and you're ready with your big old cup of Java. Yes, you are. Jarell, we'll talk about the mama croc and her eggs. Maybe we'll get to head over to Tlou at a later stage after we spend some time here at these new cams, and then we can chat about it. Bridget McKenney, you say, hi Trishala, you're drinking seltzer water. Love a good soda. April Owl, you say, good morning everyone and a happy new year. Enjoying your iced cherry tea and you're ready for the show. Thank you very much for those well wishes, April Owl. Oh, just a few more. Oh, gosh, it feels like everyone is back on for the first show. That's really, really nice. Glenda Newman-Craft, you say, hello Trish from LaGrange, Indiana. Hello and thanks for coming on board for the first one of the year. Mr. HUAE87, you say, hi Trishala and welcome back. Thank you very much. Zygote, you say, hi Africam. Hi Zygote, nice to have you on board. Mr. HUAE87, you say, today you have cake and coffee. Fantastic combinations, fantastic pairings with a good Africam show. Amberco, you say you're so happy to see the show back, you're enjoying coffee and thankful to all these that make the shows possible. And you're waving a hello to me. Well, I'm waving a hello to you too, even though you can't see me. And it's Bob from Kalamazoo, and Bob says, Happy New Year, Trish. Happy New Year to you too, Bob. Mr. HUAE, you're just letting us know that you've seen white oryx and blessbok at Camphor's Dam. Camphor's Dam, well, you know, when we head over, we'll talk about it. Camphor's Dam is an interesting place because they do a lot of breeding in that area, so and a lot of, therefore, selective breeding. So you get to see some unusual morphs of animals, something that's quite common around game reserves where there's privately owned farms. It's not an uncommon thing to see them selectively breed certain species that are known to have different color morphs. Wanda, I'm not sure we're going to be able to have a closer look at those Marabou storks because the waterhole camera here at Victoria Falls it's not very, very smooth. I'm not sure if we can see them now, or I can't see the Marabou storks anymore. And Marabou storks are big birds. They're about 6.5 kgs, and really they're unmistakable. You're not going to ever confuse a Marabou stork with anything else. They often are described as one of the ugly five. And you can understand why. There we go. Down to the waterhole camera here at Victoria Falls. They look like they have a balding head. There's sparse hairs on it. And even though this is very much a stork, their feeding behavior is absolutely very much like a vulture. And so in a way their bodies have adapted to suit that scavenging behavior. So the reason that vultures have very, very, very thin, fine down on their heads, or their heads are bald, their heads and neck, is because they often find themselves probing carcasses with their entire necks. And if there were a whole lot of feathers with down, or more strong feathers, it would be an opportunity for things to fester, for bits of blood and other viscera to get stuck in there, and then bacteria. So basically it's by removing whether it's, well, not for them fur, but removing the feathers in that area and just having skin, there's nowhere for the blood, etc., to attach to. So it's a more sanitary look in a way. It helps them to keep as clean as possible, given that they are scavengers. It's nice to have a good look at them. Not something we get to do often. I once saw a flock of Marabou storks. There must have been about 17 of them, and they all flew overhead. And if I tell you how dramatic it was, because I was simply in the game reserve driving, and I just saw these shadows come across the ground, and then it felt like a movie, you know. Other game drive vehicles then all stopped, and we're looking at each other, looking at the shadows. Then we look up and we see all these Marabou storks coming overhead, and then they landed at a waterhole very similar to this, just about not even 100 meters away. It was stunning, such a stunning thing to see. And you can see that we were chatting about how this bare neck and head is more sanitary. But at the same time, you can see that they're spending a lot of time cleaning up. If you're a scavenger, whether you are a vulture, you're a marabou stork, or if you're even a hyena, you need to spend a lot of time cleaning up, just because you are exposed to that much more risk in terms of bacteria infection compared to other animals. So you'll find that I mean, you know, I'm not going to say they're clean animals and that you could cuddle them without an issue. No, I'm not saying that. But they're not dirty. No. But also, what is the context for it if we say something like that? Only context we have is ourselves and perhaps our pets. So, not dirty, and I think rather beautiful. Mindy Tillapau, you say Happy New Year, Trish. Happy New Year to you, Mindy. Casper's third ghost, you agree with me. You say, oh, you think that they're beautiful birds. I think so too. And when you see them in person, you can really see that they do have a little bit of a particularly elderly human look going on. You can definitely see it, but if anything, I think it's quite endearing. #1, you say good evening from Japan. Good evening. So happy to have you on board, and thank you for taking the time to give yourself some space to enjoy the African wilderness. Victor Manuel Sanchez Fernandez, you say hi to all from Spain, and thanks for this webcam. Thank you for joining us. We love to include more people in our Africam community, because the more people that can have access to wild spaces and just get to enjoy our wildlife, the more people will start to care. Conservation starts with just learning to love things first. Ooh, we have almost looks like a hooded vulture there as well. Definitely looks like a hooded vulture. Hello, there on the right. So this looks a little suspicious to me now. I hadn't noticed the hooded vulture previously. So here we have the two marabou stork. Then we have this hooded vulture to the right. Both scavengers. Very unlikely that these two would be together in any other circumstance, except for if there was a kill nearby. How interesting. I wonder if we know. Has there been any activity? Ah, this makes sense. Oh, hello you. Oh, hello you. Aren't they just lovely? Vultures are so special. Yes, you are. This makes a lot more sense. I actually forgot about this. They have a feeding here. So if you are unsure, or perhaps you've never heard of, there's a thing called vulture restaurants. And what that is, it's an attempt to protect vultures by feeding them. Now, I know when it comes to conservation and when we talk about working with nature in general, feeding's not the number one thing that comes to mind. And so this issue is a little bit contentious. But the point of a vulture restaurant is that, for one, vultures regularly will be able to come here and know that they will get food at a certain time. But one of the primary problems is in terms of conservation for vultures, and remember that all vulture species across Africa are either vulnerable or endangered, and that difference is only a matter of region. So a vulture may be endangered in this region, but not in that region, that kind of thing. So for the sake of what we're talking about, we're going to say they're all endangered. And the reason that or one of the big reasons, is that in traditional medicine, they're often used. But apart from that, they also get poisoned. So for one, but when they're being poisoned, they're not being poisoned for traditional medicine. We'll come to that in a moment. When the vultures come to an area like this, they can eat in a place that's safe, and that's not a trap or anything like that. But most importantly, vultures get poisoned when carcasses get poisoned. So say there are farmers or farmland close by to Vic Falls here, and they are having a problem with caracal, or even too many antelope or something like that. That's not usually the case. But if there is a problem, say jackals have been killing livestock, they may poison jackals. But what ends up happening is that endangered birds like vultures come down and then they consume that poisoned meat. Now, that could be a really, really devastating to the population. So these vulture restaurants go a long way in making sure that vultures are able to get the food they need and it's not poisoned. Now, as for the Marabou storks, they're probably in here for the same reason. I mean, you can't exactly turn away these lovely looking birds. They're scavengers too. Bridget McKinney, you say that you heard that they smell bad, the Marabou storks. Yes, I suppose they do, but I have been around them, and I haven't smelt. I didn't think they smelled bad. Now, the reason that they do, or they are known to smell bad, is because they engage in something called urohydrosis. Now, that's when they urinate on their own legs as a form of cooling down. So if you can imagine cooling down with so the dried urine on you, plus maybe a little leftovers from whatever you just scavenged, probably going to make you not smell too good. We've hopped over to the next cam now, the sky cam. I think it was the sky cam. No, are we on the... We're on the waterhole cam. Ah, yeah. Okay, we're on the sky cam. Here we have a whole lot of different vultures. This is an excellent place to come to. Say you're particularly interested in African vultures, this is the cam for you. You know that there's vulture feeding, you know the reasons for it. Maybe it'll help you to identify different vultures. It'll help you to maybe even learn about the ethics behind feeding vultures, because it is a little divisive. This is a good place to do it. So here we saw the hooded vultures. I can definitely see white-backed vultures. That's the majority here. White-headed vultures, that would be awesome to see. Lappet-faced vultures as well. This is the place to be if you want to learn about vultures. Now, one day, there we go, okay. Back to the waterhole cam. April Owl, you say it looks like bones in front of the vulture. The thing that's in front of the vultures here is a twig, not bones. Now, I myself have not actually seen a vulture restaurant feeding. I've seen vultures being fed at sanctuaries and things like that, but I haven't seen it in a restaurant form, which basically means it's a mass feeding. I think that would be really, really interesting to see. Bindi Tilapau, you say the way they're sitting on their legs seems weird. It's kind of weird, right? But they're actually sitting so... Oh, it is weird. It's such a difficult thing to explain without you being able to see me. Maybe on Thursday during the Wild Moments show, I can help describe the anatomy of a bird's legs. It's essentially really, really long feet. So imagine their toes are exceptionally long, and then their like their metatarsals, which are those bones between your toes and your ankle. Those are exceptionally long, and it's almost as if they're just oh, it's so weird to describe. Mindy, I'm gonna have to draw for you on Thursday. And even though it looks like they have knees, those are definitely not knees that they're bending. They're actually what you're seeing there is the movement of their ankles, which is in itself very weird. Casper's third ghost, you say, your hooded vultures, you love their confident swagger. Oh, they're very confident when the other vultures are not around. Remember, the hooded vultures are the smallest species when it comes to like a hierarchy at a carcass. Hooded vultures have to wait for everybody else. So they've really got to get as much confidence and swagger out when nobody else is around as they can. All right, how about we move away from Vic Falls just for a little bit? Away from Zimbabwe and a little closer to home, a little further south. Ah, we are in Tlou. I thought we were going to Rosie's, but but that's all good. That's also closer to home. And we have a nice, very, very, very splat crocodile, a Nile crocodile. Gosh, it's particularly windy at Tlou. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that there's actually some green here? How many times we've looked at Tlou and just seen barren landscape. So this is really nice, despite the wind. I wonder if we could just zoom out a little bit so we can get a better perspective on where we are exactly. Now, when I'm looking at the Tlou camera, I always look forward to elephants. I'm hoping they may come through here as well. Now, when we first started and we were saying our hellos, Jurel, you were waiting with bated breath thinking about the mama croc. Now, unless something has happened during this whole festive period when I haven't been here, unless something has happened, I think you're talking about the female that was laying her eggs here at Tlou. The unfortunately not very successful female. She was digging and depositing her eggs, and we all were hoping that she would be successful very, very soon. Now, I wish I could tell you the sex of a crocodile, but unfortunately, it's near impossible unless you see them mating, or you see a massive size difference. But then at the same time, you've got to know that both of them are adults of a similar age, so it's not very helpful. But maybe this is mum that we're looking at right now. I'm trying to remember when we saw her with those eggs. Now, typically, eggs will hatch, or it takes about 80 to 90 days for them to hatch. So, has it been about 3 months yet? I don't think so. What do you say, Jarell? I think it's been a little less than that. Doesn't mean that you're any less anxious, though, of course. I would be too. Ah, there we go. Pulled out. Now we have a nice view of Tlou. Oh my goodness, it feels so different. Look at all of those sickle bush trees in the background there at the tree line. Do you remember, September, October? It's all just gray and clear. No, not bushy. And now look at it. So much green. I mean, even these rocky outcrops have actually started to become nice and green and bushy. Got a yellow-billed stork as well, just down the bottom right of your screen. That's pretty good. I think if we had a bird list for our time together today, we'd have done pretty well. 2 storks and a good couple vultures. And some elephant dung. I think that's a good sign, everybody. I really, really want to see some elephants. So far, I see some elephant dung, which is great. Here we go. So you can definitely see the resemblance between this yellow-billed stork and the marabou stork. But there is a significant size difference. Remember, the marabou stork is about 6 to 6.5 kg, somewhere around there. A yellow-billed stork, much smaller. I'm looking at about 1.5, 2 kgs. Now, when we were talking about the marabou stork, we did say that they're scavengers, and that's unusual for, they're primarily scavengers, which is unusual for a stork. Storks are usually active hunters, much like this yellow-billed stork right here. Often around the water, this yellow-billed stork will be looking for fish, little frogs, anything that's living in this aquatic environment. But when we were watching it and watching it hunt actively like this, it reminded me to tell you that even though marabou storks are considered, or they are scavengers, they're not only scavengers, and this goes for so many animals. So many animals scavenge a lot, but are not only scavengers, just like hyenas. Hyenas are not just scavengers. Spotted hyenas, in fact, very often hunt more than they do scavenge. And in certain parts of Africa, it's different. that ratio of how much they scavenge to how much they hunt. But marabou storks will also catch prey. So if the opportunity comes along, they see a little mouse or something like that, they're going to stop and they're going to catch it if they can. And we were looking at the crocodile earlier here at Tlou as well, and marabou storks are known to take little crocodiles as well. You'll find that the majority of animals in the wild, when it comes to feeding themselves, it all comes down to opportunity. You don't think that that leopards would go about expending energy to hunt vulture chicks, would you? It just doesn't make sense. But if you happen to be a leopard sitting in a tree and there happens to be a nest, you end up eating vulture chicks. That's what I mean. It's always about opportunity. Even if they don't particularly like this thing or aren't recorded hunting that thing, or majority scavenge, it doesn't really matter. What matters is opportunity. Ooh, nice. Jirel, you say yesterday, last night, you saw a smaller baby croc, not too big, not too small, and you'd not seen or heard about other mums laying eggs. Perhaps someone knows about the smaller croc we saw there last night. That's interesting because we're just heading back over to the Vic Falls waterhole. Janelle will let me just finish up very quickly. That's interesting because if it's not a newborn crocodile, then we might even be looking at, like, you know, mom having laid those eggs 4 months ago. So maybe it's just a matter of us going and checking when we saw her doing that. That's really cool. Thank you, Jarell. So we're back at Vic Falls waterhole, and your eyes are not deceiving you. Some kudu are in fact licking a rock. It's something that we see very often. And they're not hoping to get any nutrition from the rock, but they are hoping to supplement the mineral intake in their diet. So things like calcium, phosphorus, those minerals can be lacking in the diet of many herbivores. Most often in the dry season, but in the wet season, it's the time of abundance. I mean, like we saw in Madikwe earlier at Tlou, it's really, really green. In fact, Mindy Tillapau, you said that that was the greenest you've seen Tlou in a long time. It is. It is. It was very impressive. So it's the wet season, which means that it's the season of abundance. These kudu really probably don't need to be getting extra minerals and extra salts from licking this rock, because there is just so much vegetation around, and they could probably have a very balanced diet, as they should. But at the same time, because there's abundance everywhere, there's also an abundance of minerals all over the place. Water is interacting with the rocks, it's allowing those minerals to leach through, becoming more available. It's just the time of abundance. It's beautiful. I love being out in wild spaces during this time of the year. It really feels raw. It feels untamed. But at the same time, during the dry season, you get to know the harshness of it. And ultimately, because the bush becomes so thin, you get to see more. It's like they're sharing one big salt lolly. Across all sorts of different locations in Africa, you're going to see some kind of behavior like this, whether it's licking a rock, whether it's chewing soil, sometimes it's just licking the ground even, like we see in certain areas where there's salt flats. Then you often see animals licking little rocks, just licking the ground, not even chewing the soil. It's all an attempt to get some of those minerals. Salt is the most common one, but also, like I said, calcium, phosphorus, and potassium, magnesium, to an extent, things like iron, copper, zinc, all things that are really important for... Oh, there was a mongoose, almost looked like a water mongoose, just was walking on the other side of the water hole there. Like I was saying, all those things, all those minerals are really important for proper body function. There it comes. Could be a banded mongoose, actually. Be nice if it came down to say hello. Nope, it's just figuring out whether it wants to be by this kudu or not. Not a banded mongoose though, because if it was a banded mongoose, it would probably be with some other mongooses. Instead, it is on its own. It looks like it's looking right at us, but it's actually looking at the kudu. Oh, it is a banded mongoose. Where's your friends? That was very cute. Casper's third ghost, you say, wow, kudus have the most beautiful ears in the bush. They do have beautiful ears. Their ears remind me of tulips. If you don't see it, I think that you should try to see it. They just, the color, I mean, when you see them in person, obviously it's much easier, but the color and the shading, the variation in the color, and there's kind of like three scoops in the ear. It kind of looks like petals, and it reminds me of tulips. Very, very beautiful indeed. Now we have about 7 minutes together, and I'm really hoping we get to see some elephants. Really, really, really hoping. And so far, oh, the mongoose is coming back. Please come down and have a drink, mongoose. It's just across over on the other side, but in that green grass. Oh, there's a whole lot of them now. So I'm looking, the kudu that's on the left, extreme left kudu. If you move up a straight line, you see those weaver's nests. The mongoose are playing around there. Actually, there's so much going on. There's the weavers, there's the mongoose. Oh, it's got a pied kingfisher just landed on the branch there as well, just above the weavers. There's some oxpeckers moving around. One's dust bathing on the ground there. It's all happening in that thin, thin sliver on the left of the screen. You probably can hear that helicopter as well. I'd imagine that taking helicopter flights in this area is probably really popular. There's the weavers. If we go further down, we'll get to see the kingfisher. There the kingfisher is in the bottom right corner of the screen. Just seeing the edge of it. So now we're still looking at the weavers. There's the kingfisher, and the banded mongoose just running off behind it. Oh, off it goes. I love kingfishers. There's nothing like, I mean, if you're in the right area, there's nothing like trying to find all the kingfishers that you can in that area, all the ones that you know are there. One of the coolest things. That was a pied kingfisher that we were looking at. Casper's third ghost, yes. Yes, talking about the Kudu's ear again, you say it's like an exotic flower. Or, Bridget McKenney, you say a daylily is what you see. But I like that we're all seeing a flower. Flower with large petals. That's what I like. Now here we have a weaver. Very, very diligently fixing up his little house. Like this could be a village weaver right at the water's edge. Even though we know that weavers, when it comes to finding a partner and settling in for the breeding season, we know that the construction of their nests plays a really big part in sexual selection, or mate selection, I should say, not sexual selection. But that nest has to be kept up to standard throughout the breeding season. So it's not like a once-off job and everything's great. Instead, they have to keep that effort going quite a lot. It's lovely to see them. I like how they hang upside down like this. When you think about the entrance to their nest, it makes total sense that they have to move in like this, by grabbing the bottom of it and then almost doing a pull-up into the nest. April Owl, you say, cool, so much activity. Yeah, there is so much activity. It's like suddenly our eyes just got accustomed to this area, you know, and started to see all the things that were happening. You can also hear all the twitterings of these weavers. Because they nest in large groups like this, the sound is quite incredible. For me, this sounds like the wet season. Oh, and look at this! We've got some buffalo coming down! Oh my goodness. Big Falls is just throwing out all the stops today. Well, when was the last time you can say you saw a Marabou stork, a hooded vulture, and buffalo in one gaze? I can't say I've ever seen that. So thank you, Big Falls cameras, for giving us this splendid opportunity. Well, everyone, it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you for joining. Remember that you can still continue to watch all the cams on your own, listening to the sound of nature. Just hop onto our website and you can go across Africa. But thank you all for joining us. Thanks for your questions and your comments. If you enjoyed the questions and comments, then you know what time and what place Next week, Tuesday, we'll be doing the same. Just get your questions and your comments ready. And for those of you who are the familiar names, thank you. It's so wonderful to spend time with all of you. And now, I'm going to say goodbye. Until next time.